It all started with a simple coffee run. Jake Thompson was just an ordinary guy who, as of this morning, was late for work, dangerously undercaffeinated, and absolutely desperate for a venti caramel macchiato with an extra shot. It wasn't his usual order, but today was special. He had an important meeting, and for some reason he thought drinking the most pretentious coffee on the menu would boost his confidence. Little did he know this coffee run was about to turn into a full-blown heist. The setup. As Jake rushed into Been There, Brewed That, the trendiest coffee shop in town, he noticed the absurdly long line. Great. Just what he needed. He groaned internally but shuffled into place. His fingers drummed impatiently against his phone as he checked the time. 8:47 a.m. His meeting was in 13 minutes. Next, the barista called. Jake was up. He rattled off his order at lightning speed, swiped his card, and grabbed his receipt. That's when the trouble started. Right as Jake turned to find a spot near the pickup counter, the front doors burst open. A group of men in ski masks stormed in, each holding what looked like very real, very large weapons. The entire shop fell silent. "All right, nobody move," one of them shouted. "This is a robbery." Jake, who had just taken a sip of someone else's cold brew by accident, promptly choked. The chaos unfolds. Everything after that was a blur. Customers screamed, baristas ducked behind the counter, and one old lady threw a muffin at one of the robbers. Absolute pandemonium. Jake, however, was in full deer-in-the-headlights mode, frozen mid-sip, still holding the stolen cold brew. The leader of the group, a guy with a raspy voice and an unfortunately ironic death before decaf tattoo, pointed his gun at the cash register. "Empty the drawer, now." The barista, a college kid named Ethan who had only worked here for 3 days, was shaking so badly that he accidentally pressed the espresso machine's steam wand instead. The entire counter was instantly filled with a thick cloud of mist, causing one of the robbers to shriek, "We're under attack!" Total mayhem. Jake's unplanned hero moment. Now here's the thing about Jake. He wasn't exactly a hero, but he also had a bad habit of making snap decisions that sounded brilliant in his head and utterly disastrous in reality. In the heat of the moment, he noticed something on the counter, a fresh bag of dark roast coffee beans. Without thinking, he grabbed the bag and, in one fluid motion, hurled it toward the lead robber. The bag exploded midair, showering the entire gang in a blizzard of finely ground coffee. The robbers, now covered in caffeine dust, coughed and staggered back, momentarily disoriented. "Get him!" someone shouted. Jake had no idea who yelled it, but suddenly the entire coffee shop erupted into action. The old lady with a muffin, she was now dual-wielding croissants. A guy in a business suit, he launched a tray full of scalding hot lattes toward the nearest masked man. Even Ethan, the terrified barista, managed to hurl a pumpkin spice syrup bottle directly at one of their heads. And then, just when things couldn't get any crazier, the front doors flew open again. Enter Ryan Reynolds. Yes, that Ryan Reynolds. Dressed in a casual hoodie and sunglasses, he took one step inside, surveyed the chaos, and sighed. "Man, I just wanted an oat milk latte." Before anyone could react, one of the robbers, still blinded by espresso dust, lunged toward Ryan, mistaking him for another attacker. Big mistake. Ryan, with the speed and agility of a man who had spent way too much time in action movies, sidestepped effortlessly, tripping the guy with a perfectly timed leg sweep. The robber face planted directly into a display of gluten-free banana muffins. A beat of silence. Then, in perfect comedic timing, Ryan adjusted his sunglasses and muttered, "Guess he wasn't ready for that punchline." The coffee shop collectively groaned. The aftermath. By the time the police arrived, the robbers were either unconscious, covered in syrup, or restrained with biodegradable paper straws, because sustainability. Jake was standing in the middle of it all, still holding the cold brew he had stolen, wondering how his day had spiraled so completely out of control. Ryan Reynolds, meanwhile, had calmly walked up to the counter, stepped over a groaning robber, and placed his order. "I'll take that oat milk latte now," he told Ethan, who was still visibly shaking. As for Jake, well, he never made it to his meeting. but he did make it onto the news. Later that evening, as he sat in his apartment watching the local coverage, he couldn't help but laugh when the reporter said, "The heroic actions of a local man, armed with nothing but coffee beans, helped bring down a gang of robbers in what is now being called the Great Espresso Showdown." Jake shook his head. "I just wanted a macchiato." And as for Ryan Reynolds, he posted a tweet later that day. "Stopped a robbery on my way to get coffee. Pretty standard Tuesday. Death before decaf."